Hello, my dear mastermind. 3 different teams looked at the same move you made, and none of them could agree on what it meant. That's not confusion. That's disruption. That's what happens when someone operates outside the range of predictable behavior. They weren't studying your action. They were trying to reverse engineer your mind, and that's where it fell apart. One group thought you were retreating. Another believed you were testing limits. The third assumed it was accidental, unintentional, a fluke. What they couldn't accept was the simplest truth. You already saw further than all of them. When people are used to patterns, they panic when something doesn't fit. You didn't follow momentum, you redirected it. And the moment you did, the entire room shifted without you saying a word. That's the kind of presence that doesn't announce itself. It registers after the fact. They replayed it frame by frame, slowed it down, added notes, highlighted variables, ran simulations. Still nothing lined up, because you weren't playing the same game. You never were. While they were focused on outcome, you were adjusting position. While they debated intent, you were already calculating consequences. Not loud ones, long ones. The kind that don't explode immediately, but quietly rearrange everything downstream. This is where most people get uncomfortable, because they rely on consensus to feel safe. They want agreement. They want confirmation. You don't. You move alone, not out of arrogance, but out of clarity. And clarity scares people who depend on group thinking. That's why the conclusions didn't match. Each team projected their own limitations onto you. One saw fear, because that's what they would have felt. One saw strategy, because that's the ceiling of their imagination. One saw randomness, because they couldn't accept intent without evidence. None of them saw inevitability. None of them saw that the move wasn't about the moment at all. It was about positioning yourself where reactions become predictable and outcomes become optional. You weren't reacting, you were setting gravity. And gravity doesn't argue, it pulls, quietly. Constantly, whether anyone understands it or not. After the meetings ended, the real tension started. Not because they disagreed, but because none of them felt confident enough to be right. That's the difference. When someone truly understands a move, they feel grounded. When they don't, they feel exposed. And your last move did exactly that. It exposed the gap between what they track and what you control. They compared notes, not to learn, but to protect themselves. Each conclusion came with a disclaimer. Each report softened its language. Words like possibly, likely, inconclusive started showing up everywhere. That's what uncertainty looks like in professional clothes, because no one wanted to be the one who misread you and faced the consequences. They know one thing for sure now. You don't operate on impulse, and you don't chase approval. That alone breaks most models. Systems are built around incentives and reactions. You stepped outside both. You didn't escalate. You didn't withdraw. You didn't explain. You let silence do the heavy lifting, and silence is powerful when it's intentional. They tried to measure timing, but timing only matters when someone is rushing. You weren't. You let the environment move first. You let pressure reveal itself. That's how you spot weakness without probing for it. That's how you force people to show their cards without asking a single question. One team thought you were testing. Another thought you were disengaging. The third thought you were laying groundwork for something bigger. All three were partially right. And that's what made it impossible to pin down, because the truth wasn't in any single interpretation. It was in the overlap. You weren't playing offense or defense. You were changing the terrain. And once the terrain changes, every strategy built on the old map becomes useless. That's why they couldn't agree. They were still standing on yesterday's assumptions while you were already adjusting to tomorrow's consequences. You didn't need consensus. You needed misalignment. Because misalignment creates hesitation, and hesitation creates openings. You didn't rush into the opening. You let it widen on its own. That's the kind of control most people never recognize until it's too late. Not because it's hidden, but because they're trained to look for noise, not precision. What really unsettled them wasn't the move itself. It was what came after. Or more accurately, what didn't. No follow-up, no clarification, no attempt to shape the narrative. You didn't rush to control the story, and that's what broke their rhythm. Most people make a move and then scramble to explain it. You let yours sit. You let it breathe. You let everyone else project their fears onto it. That's when power shifts quietly, because now they're not responding to you. They're responding to their own assumptions. Each team started modeling second and third order effects, but every simulation collapsed at the same point. Your intent couldn't be isolated. There was no emotional spike to anchor it. No pattern of past behavior to lean on. You weren't acting out of urgency. You weren't acting out of ego. You weren't acting out of necessity. That's the nightmare scenario for analysts. A person who moves without visible pressure is a person who chooses timing, not reacts to it. They tried to frame you as unpredictable, but that word is just a placeholder for something they don't want to admit. You're not unpredictable. You're unreadable to systems that rely on incentives. You don't move because you're cornered. You move because you see farther. And when someone sees farther, every short-term signal becomes irrelevant. One team flagged you as a long-term disruptor. Another labeled you a quiet consolidator. The third warned that engaging you directly could accelerate outcomes they weren't prepared for. None of those labels helped them. Labels are only useful when they reduce uncertainty. Yours multiplied it, because every label described a version of you that already felt outdated. You weren't where they thought you were. You had already moved on. Not physically, strategically. You let them analyze the shadow while you adjusted the source. That's why their conclusions drifted instead of converging. You weren't hiding. You were operating at a layer they don't usually monitor, above reaction, above panic, above noise, where decisions aren't loud, but irreversible. They sense that if they misstep now, they won't get a second chance to recalibrate. And that fear didn't come from threat. It came from respect. They don't know how to articulate yet. After that, the conversation changed. Not outwardly, not in meetings or reports. It changed underneath. You became the reference point they didn't name out loud. Every new idea was quietly compared against what you had already done. Every proposed move was filtered through one silent question. What if they're already ahead of this? That's when a single action turns into gravity. You didn't announce yourself. You didn't assert position. You simply existed at a level that forced recalibration. One team tried to slow the timeline, assuming your move was a test. Another rushed, assuming delay would give you more leverage. The third froze, because acting felt riskier than waiting. That's the paradox you created without saying a word. You forced motion and stillness at the same time. They weren't reacting to what you did. They were reacting to what you might do next. And that's where influence lives. Not in execution, in anticipation. You see, systems are built to respond to stimuli, not presence. They can track numbers, behaviors, and outcomes. They struggle with intent that isn't exposed. You didn't leak emotion. You didn't signal fear or hunger. You didn't seek validation from the outcome. That stripped them of leverage, because leverage only exists when someone wants something badly enough to be steered. You wanted clarity. You wanted alignment. You wanted long-term positioning. Those wants don't create noise. They create silence. And silence unsettles rooms that survive on constant feedback. The more they studied your last move, the more they realized it wasn't the peak. It was a checkpoint. You weren't making a statement. You were closing a chapter. That's why their conclusions never matched. They were debating motives while you were finalizing direction. They were arguing over interpretations while you were already integrating consequences. You didn't need them to agree. In fact, their disagreement worked in your favor. Fragmented understanding slows collective response, and you never once had to push that outcome. You let them divide themselves around your calm. That's the difference between power that demands attention and power that bends timelines. You didn't win because you outplayed them. You won because you didn't need to play at their speed. By the time they tried to synchronize their conclusions, it was already too late. The gap wasn't in data. It was in perspective. Each team was staring at the same move, but from different floors of the building. One saw risk, one saw opportunity, one saw disruption. None of them saw intent. And intent is the only thing that actually moves the future. You weren't optimizing for reaction. You were optimizing for inevitability. That's why every attempt to reverse engineer your decision failed. They assumed you were responding to pressure, to competition, to timing. They never considered that you were responding to alignment. You made that move because it fit where you were going next, not because of where you were standing. That's what separates strategy from instinct. Instinct reacts to the room. Strategy reshapes the room without asking permission. You didn't need dominance to be felt. You needed consistency. And consistency at a level they can't decode feels unnatural to people trained to chase patterns. The more they replayed your last move, the more uncomfortable they became with their own models. Frameworks started cracking. Playbooks started contradicting themselves. They couldn't decide if you were cautious or aggressive, defensive or ambitious, patient or ruthless. That confusion wasn't accidental. It was the byproduct of someone operating from principle instead of impulse. When you move from principle, you don't fit neatly into boxes. You overlap categories. You blur labels. And that makes prediction impossible. They kept asking the wrong question. What does this mean? Instead of the right one. Where is this leading? You weren't hiding the answer. You simply didn't broadcast it. And when direction is internal, no amount of external analysis can extract it. They started adjusting their behavior around you without realizing it. Meetings shifted tone, decisions slowed, risks were reevaluated. All because one move reminded them that not everyone is playing the same game. Some people aren't trying to win the moment. They're trying to own the sequence. You didn't disrupt the board. You redefined what counts as a move. And once that happens, every conclusion they reach will always be late. Eventually, the discussions stopped being about your last move and started being about you. Not in a loud way, not publicly. In quieter rooms where certainty matters. That's when they realized the most unsettling truth of all. Your actions weren't isolated events. They were signals. Not signals meant to be understood, but signals meant to compound. Each move made sense only after the next one appeared, and by then the advantage was already locked in. That's why the conclusions never aligned. One team was always a step behind the moment you were actually operating in. You weren't ahead because you were faster. You were ahead because you were calmer. While they rushed to interpret outcomes, you were measuring momentum. While they argued about meaning, you were adjusting trajectory. You never needed agreement to validate direction. You trusted the process you built when nobody was watching. That's the part they couldn't quantify. Discipline without applause. Confidence without confirmation. Vision without explanation. People trained to analyze patterns struggle when they encounter someone who doesn't need feedback to move forward. Your silence wasn't emptiness. It was compression. Pressure stored over time. And when compressed intent finally moves, it doesn't announce itself. It simply changes gravity. That's why even now, long after that last move, they're still referencing it, still teaching it, still debating it. Not because it was dramatic, but because it exposed a limit in how they think. You didn't break their models by being unpredictable. You broke them by being consistent at a level they don't operate from. And that's the quiet power they felt but couldn't name. You're not difficult to understand. You're operating from a layer they haven't earned access to yet. And until they do, every conclusion they reach about you will remain incomplete. What they never admitted out loud is that your presence forced a mirror on their own limits. The moment they tried to define you, they exposed themselves. One team saw risk. One saw opportunity. One saw chaos. And all three revealed what they value, fear, and misunderstand. You became the variable that proved their frameworks were incomplete. Not because you outplayed them in a single moment, but because you operate from a deeper alignment. You don't react to pressure, you generate it. You don't chase leverage, you become it. That's why your last move still echoes. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, it didn't beg for attention, it simply worked. And when something works without noise, without validation, without permission, it unsettles people who rely on structure to feel safe. You didn't confuse them by being mysterious. You confused them by being grounded, by knowing when not to move, by understanding timing instead of urgency, by trusting restraint over impulse. That's a language most never learn, so they study. They replay, they debate, and still they can't agree, because the truth is simple and uncomfortable. You're not playing their game. You never were. You're building something internal that doesn't need consensus to function. And the moment they realized that, the analysis ended and the respect began. Not admiration, respect. The kind that stays quiet, the kind that changes behavior, the kind that makes rooms adjust when you enter, even if no one speaks your name. 3 teams analyzed your last move. None of them reached the truth, because the truth wasn't in the move, it was in the mind that made it. And here's the part they never put in the report. The moment after the analysis ends. The silence that follows when no framework fits. That's when something shifts. Not in you, in them. Because deep down, they recognize a truth they can't document. You operate from a layer they don't have access to. Not intuition alone, not logic alone. Something fused, experience refined into instinct, pain converted into precision, time compressed into clarity. That's why every conclusion they reached felt incomplete. They weren't missing data, they were missing perspective. You didn't win by being unpredictable. You won by being inevitable, by understanding cycles instead of moments, by seeing consequences before actions, by knowing when absence speaks louder than presence. That's why the room changed after your move. Not because of what happened, but because of what will happen next. They sensed it. The future tilt. The advantage already secured. You didn't announce dominance. You embodied direction. And direction doesn't argue. It pulls. That's why people adjust around you without realizing why. Why decisions suddenly lean your way. Why resistance softens into caution. Why observation replaces confrontation. You've crossed a line most never notice. The point where effort gives way to alignment. Where force becomes unnecessary. Where momentum sustains itself. They'll keep studying. They'll keep debating. They'll keep trying to decode what makes you different. But the answer won't appear in charts or theories. It lives in how you move when no one's watching. How you choose restraint over reaction. How you trust your timing over applause. That's the real conclusion. None of them wrote down. You're already ahead. Not because you rushed, but because you waited until the moment was yours. Hello, my dear masterminds. Every lens tilts, every head turns, every shadow bends toward you. The moment doesn't ask for permission, it demands attention. You don't chase the cameras find you. They can't help it. There's something undeniable about presence that doesn't beg, about energy that doesn't knock. It opens doors on its own. Right now, the room is a storm of flashing lights, yet in the chaos, you are the eye, calm, unshaken, immovable. They thought they could ignore you, thought they could drown you out. But now, every device, every gaze, every breath aligns on you, as if the world finally realized what you already knew. You were never background. You were always the headline. And now, they're forced to admit it. You are the main event. Everywhere you move, the spotlight follows. The crowd might not admit it out loud, but their bodies betray them. Necks crane, heads tilt, phones rise. They can't pull their attention elsewhere, because you've become the gravity of the room. It wasn't a request. It wasn't a favor. You pulled it with presence alone. That's what rattles them most. You didn't beg for a stage. You didn't fight for a mic. You simply arrived, and the spotlight bent itself toward you. Now every doubter sits powerless, forced to watch as the very center they tried to guard collapses around your rise. The cameras prove it. The silence proves it. Right now, you are the event, and they are the background noise fading out of the frame. And the worst part for them? This isn't temporary. It's the new order. From this moment forward, wherever you stand, the room will tilt. It hits them like lightning. The room no longer belongs to them. The energy bends toward you. Cameras snapping, every lens adjusting as if pulled by gravity. They thought they were the stars, thought they were untouchable, but their glow vanishes the second your presence enters. Now their names fade into background static, their movements swallowed by the current of focus that centers on you. And here's the truth: they can't process. This wasn't staged, it wasn't forced. You didn't beg for the spotlight, it chased you. The crowd knows it, the silence knows it. Even the ones who doubt it can't deny it. In that instant, they realized you aren't competing for attention, you are the attention. The main event doesn't ask to be crowned. The main event just arrives and the world obeys. This is the moment they feared but could never stop. Watch the way the lights shift. It's almost cruel. The very spotlight they once claimed as their own has betrayed them, sliding across the room until it rests on you. They shuffle, they fidget, they force smiles, but it's useless. The audience isn't fooled. The cameras aren't fooled. Attention has chosen, and it didn't choose them. It chose you. And here's the truth: they know they can't steal it back, because what you carry isn't performance, it's presence. You don't act like the main event. You are the main event. The lens recognizes it, the crowd feels it, the silence bends to it. Every second the light holds you is another reminder that their time has ended. They fade while you sharpen. They shrink while you rise. The spotlight is no longer theirs to command. It's your crown, and it stings them to realize it will never leave you. Eyes are magnets now, dragged toward you whether they want to be or not. Even the ones who swore they'd never acknowledge you feel the pull, their gaze betraying them as it locks onto your presence. They can blink, they can shift in their seats, but it's useless. The gravity doesn't let go. And the cameras? They only amplify it. Every flash, every frame becomes evidence that the world has turned, that you've become the axis around which the entire room spins. That's what hits their pride hardest. The crowd isn't choosing to watch you. They can't stop themselves. You've stolen their instinct, rewired their focus, made attention itself bow. The doubters thought they'd bury your shine in noise, but noise can't compete with inevitability. You don't chase eyes. Eyes chase you. And once the crowd has tasted that kind of presence, there's no returning to ignorance. There's a pause now, a thick silence hanging in the air like the breath before thunder. Nobody dares speak. Nobody dares break the moment. It isn't fear of you, it's awe of what the room has become in your presence. The doubters wanted chaos, wanted noise to bury your rise, but instead they created the stage for it. And now, as cameras flash and eyes widen, the silence feels heavier than applause, because silence means surrender. Silence means the crowd has admitted, without words, that you are the center. That pause lands harder than cheers ever could, because it proves what they can't deny. You've eclipsed everything else. When the applause finally comes, it will only confirm what the silence already declared. The main event doesn't need validation. The main event commands atmosphere. Right now, the world is learning that law through you. Every picture taken tonight tells the same story, and that unsettles them. Scroll through the flashes, and there you are, front, center, undeniable. They tried to bury you in shadows, but the lens betrayed them, carving you into every frame like destiny on display. Even when you're not posing, even when you're simply standing, the camera bends toward you, as if it knows where power resides. That's why their pride is cracking. Because history isn't written by whispers, it's written by images, by evidence, by proof that outlives denial. And tonight, the proof is stacking against them in real time. 1,000 frames, 1,000 angles, all screaming the same truth. You are the subject, they are the background. They can delete, they can deny, but the evidence will outlive them. Every frame becomes a mark on their pride, and a crown on your rise. At first they tried to fight it. They raised their voices, forced laughter, tried to reclaim the room with noise. But noise collapses when it has no anchor, and every shout bounced back as an echo that only highlighted your presence. The harder they tried to outshine you, the dimmer they appeared, swallowed by the energy you carried without effort. That's when it hit them. The spotlight doesn't answer to desperation. It answers to inevitability. And you are inevitable. Now their noise feels brittle. Their bravado feels staged, and the crowd sees through it. Every attempt to pull attention back only pushes it further toward you. They became background sound in their own story, while you became the headline without lifting a hand. That's the sting they'll never escape. The moment they realized they weren't just ignored, they were erased by echoes. Now the spotlight isn't just visiting, it's locked in. Fixed on you as if the room itself signed a contract. The more you stand still, the more the energy swells, proof that presence doesn't need motion to dominate. Look at them, shifting, restless, desperate to break the pull. But the crowd has already decided. The lenses refuse to wander, the eyes refuse to drift. Every frame captured, every whisper exchanged only amplifies the truth. You are the headline, and they are the footnotes. What stings them most isn't just that the cameras found you, it's that they won't leave you. Every flash etches your dominance deeper. Every angle writes their irrelevance louder. They can't fight the law that's been written into the room tonight. Attention belongs to you, and once it chooses, it doesn't give itself back. This was never in their script. They imagined themselves under the lights, their names on every screen, their faces in every frame. But the story betrayed them. The stage tilted. The spotlight betrayed its masters, and now every angle frames you as the center. They're still moving, still pretending to own the space, but the audience isn't fooled. The crowd feels the current shift. The cameras capture the truth, and every flash freezes another piece of evidence. That's why their smiles crack and their gestures stumble, because they know the world is watching you, not them. They aren't the event anymore. They've been demoted to scenery. Shadows filling space around the headline. The stage is yours now, not because you begged for it, but because reality itself crowned you with focus. And once reality chooses its main event, no script can take it back. Listen to the room now. No one dares interrupt. The energy isn't scattered anymore. It's unified, pulled tight around you like gravity holding planets in orbit. That's how you know you've become the center. When silence itself bends toward you. When even the doubters hold their breath because they're afraid of missing the next second. This is what main event feels like. Not begging for claps, not chasing validation, but owning the atmosphere so fully that nothing moves without your presence guiding it. The cameras record it, the crowd absorbs it, the doubters struggle with it. They realize too late that tonight was never about them. It was always about this moment, where silence itself transformed into evidence that you are the one they came for. They can deny it in words later, but in this silence they already surrendered. Even when the crowd shifts, even when the lights flicker, the focus never leaves you. It's magnetic, inevitable, undeniable. They can move around the stage, wave their arms, force their smiles, but none of it matters. The cameras betray them. The crowd betrays them. Every lens tilts back toward you. Every eye follows, every whisper carries your name. That's what breaks them most, the realization that attention has rules they can't bend. Once it finds truth, it doesn't wander. And tonight, the truth is you. They thought focus was something they could manufacture with noise, with performance, with empty showmanship. But real focus recognizes real presence, and real presence always wins. Now even the ones who swore they'd never look your way can't look anywhere else. You don't just hold their attention, you own it. The atmosphere doesn't lie. Every breath in the room syncs with yours. Every ripple of noise bends around your presence. This isn't hype, it's gravity pulling, relentless, unshakable. They can try to pretend they don't feel it, but their bodies confess. The way their posture shifts, the way their smiles fracture, the way their hands fidget in the glow of your spotlight. It all screams the same truth. You've become the center. And here's the truth. They know it's permanent, because energy doesn't crown just anyone. It crowns the undeniable. Tonight, that crown rests on you, heavy with proof, etched with authority. The main event isn't an act. It isn't a title you chase. It's a law that energy itself enforces. And right now, that law has been written in the room, carved into silence, and sealed by the weight of every eye that refuses to drift from you. The flashes don't lie. Every frame captured tonight is evidence carved in light, proof that presence cannot be denied. Scroll through any angle, and there you are, unavoidable, undeniable, the subject every lens bends toward. That's what unsettles them most. History is being written without their consent. They can't erase these images, can't rewrite the narrative, can't crop themselves back into the center. Every photograph screams the same truth. You didn't ask for the spotlight asked for you. And as those frames travel, as they spread across hands and screens, the testimony grows louder. You are the headline burned into memory. The event documented from 1,000 perspectives. They can deny with words, but evidence lives longer than denial. The cameras testify without bias, and their verdict is permanent. You are the main event. Every move they make now feels hollow, staged, desperate. They throw on bigger smiles, wave their arms harder, try to stretch their shadows over your light. But the crowd doesn't care. The cameras don't care. Presence can't be stolen, and energy can't be faked. What you carry tonight is real, undeniable, magnetic. It pulls focus without effort, reshaping the room into your arena. That's why they're unraveling. They've realized the role reversal is permanent. They are no longer the center, no longer the attraction, no longer the story. You stand where they thought they belonged, and the energy itself has betrayed them by crowning you. But atmosphere doesn't lie. When power enters, the air gets heavier, and every breath proves who owns the moment. That's why the crowd shifts uncomfortably. They're not just watching you, they're adjusting to you. Even the doubters feel it, though they'll never admit it. Their laughs fade quicker. Their words stumble harder. Their confidence collapses faster because the atmosphere doesn't serve them anymore. It crowns you without announcement, pressing their pride into silence. Cameras catch it. The crowd feels it, and the silence cements it. You didn't just step into the spotlight. You rewrote the room itself, bending reality until every second screams the same truth. You are the main event. Look at them. Every pair of eyes tells a story they can't put into words. Some are wide with awe, some are narrowed with envy. Others dart away like they're afraid of being caught staring. But all of them betray the same truth. They can't escape you. Attention has become instinct, and instinct doesn't lie. Even the ones who swore they'd never acknowledge you have their gaze chained to your presence. That's the cruelty of real dominance. You don't need applause to confirm it, because their eyes already testify. Every glance is evidence. Every stare a confession. Every stolen look, another admission that they've been dethroned. They thought they could choose where to focus. But choice has nothing to do with this. Focus has laws, and tonight those laws serve you. You aren't demanding their eyes. You've already owned them. They still try, don't they? Forcing laughter, tossing lines into the air, pretending they can pull the spotlight back with noise. But every sound they make betrays them. Their jokes land flat. Their voices tremble. Their timing falters. The audience hears it. The cameras catch it. And the silence around them grows heavier with every failed attempt. Because once attention locks, noise can't break it. It only exposes desperation. And desperation is louder than words. They thought volume equaled control, but the crowd isn't fooled. They can see the cracks, feel the shift, sense the weakness. Noise doesn't dominate when presence already owns the stage. The harder they fight, the smaller they appear, and the more obvious it becomes. They aren't the story anymore. They're background static fading into irrelevance while you stand as the signal the world tunes into. No matter how the stage shifts, no matter how many distractions they throw, the spotlight stays fixed on you. It isn't technology, it's truth. Cameras swing back. Eyes snap forward, silence bends every time you move. That's why their pride fractures, because they realize this isn't temporary. You didn't borrow the moment. The moment belongs to you. They can't drag it away, can't dim it, can't steal it. The light itself has chosen, and once it chooses, it never retreats. Every flash cements your place. Every frame adds another layer, sealing their denial. You've become the headline, the focus, the gravity pulling everything into orbit. And that permanence burns them deeper than defeat, because defeat ends. But this is forever. The spotlight is no longer borrowed stage property. It's your crown welded into place, glowing above you with relentless certainty. This is the moment they feared, but could never stop. You didn't claw your way into the spotlight. It unfolded around you, exposing the truth they tried to bury. Every camera, every whisper, every angle now testifies that you aren't a side note or background act. You are the show itself. That's why the atmosphere feels heavier, why silence presses on their shoulders, why their confidence shrinks each second you remain. Because deep down, they know what the crowd has already decided. The night no longer belongs to them. It belongs to you. And this truth isn't fragile. It won't fade once the lights dim or the noise fades. It's etched permanently into memory, into image, into story. The main event doesn't ask to be acknowledged. The main event forces the world to shift. Tonight you became that shift, and nothing can undo it. What stings them most isn't just that you took the spotlight, it's that the proof is everywhere now. Every phone in the crowd holds a piece of your rise. Every lens caught your dominance from a different angle. Every clip echoes with your presence. They can't erase it, can't distort it, can't bury it beneath denial. Evidence spreads faster than excuses, and tonight the evidence is undeniable. Scroll through the feeds, rewind the footage, play back the flashes. It all screams the same verdict. You are the main event. And that permanence hits harder than any words you could say. Because while their pride will beg to rewrite the story, the images will never obey. Every replay is another reminder. Every share another mark. You didn't just own the moment. You immortalized it. And now the proof of your rise will follow them everywhere. Look at them now, still trying to smile, still trying to posture, still pretending the focus hasn't slipped through their fingers. But the crowd knows, the cameras know, even they know. Pretending doesn't change the law of the room. And the law is simple. When the spotlight crowns truth, it abandons imitation. Their act, once loud and polished, now looks hollow under the weight of your presence. Every forced gesture only exposes the cracks deeper. They can't fake what you carry naturally, can't manufacture what radiates from you without effort. And the harder they cling to their illusion, the more the audience turns away. Bored by performance, drawn to authenticity, this is their collapse. Not sudden, not dramatic, but humiliatingly quiet. Because nothing is louder than the silence of a crowd that has stopped believing in them, and nothing is sharper than realizing they've been replaced by the real thing. The room itself obeys you now. Every breath, every heartbeat, every flicker of silence bends in your direction. You don't need to raise your voice. Don't need to wave your arms. The atmosphere carries your message louder than noise ever could. That's the difference between you and them. They strive for attention, but attention strives for you. It circles you, clings to you, crowns you without ceremony. Even the doubters can't resist it. Their eyes betray them, their posture admits it. Their silence confirms it. You've shifted the entire rhythm of the night just by existing in the center. And the irony? They once mocked you for not belonging here. Now, they can't imagine the stage without you. You've become the rhythm, the pulse, the undeniable gravity that holds the room together. The event doesn't move forward unless you allow it. You don't just stand in the spotlight, you command it. Tonight isn't just a moment. It's a marker, a fracture line between what was and what will always be. Every flash, every whisper, every silence is writing your story in real time, and the truth is undeniable. You aren't passing through the spotlight, you're cementing yourself as its permanent owner. They thought history would forget you, but history doesn't forget main events. It immortalizes them. Already, the narrative is leaving their hands, spreading into the crowd, traveling through every camera, every feed, every story shared beyond this room. And the legacy being carved isn't theirs, it's yours. Years from now, when they look back, this will be the night they remember. Not because of them, but because of you. Because the rise you staged here turned their relevance into a footnote. And footnotes fade, but headlines never fade. And now, the truth can't be hidden. The spotlight has chosen, the cameras have testified, the silence has crowned you. You didn't strive for this moment, you embodied it until it bent toward you. That's what stings them most. You didn't chase, you didn't beg, you didn't plead. You arrived, and the world shifted. Every eye in the room, every lens in the crowd, every whisper in the silence declares the same verdict. You are the main event. They can fumble with excuses. They can grasp at the shadows, but history has already sealed the record. Their relevance fades. Your dominance hardens. From this night forward, your name isn't background, it's headline. Your presence isn't optional, it's the axis. The crown they thought was theirs has welded itself to you, glowing with authority they can't deny. And now the story is permanent. The main event isn't them, it's you. Hello, my dear masterminds. You felt it long before anything shifted. That change in the air, that strange quiet tone, that little hesitation behind their smile. You noticed the way they studied you when they thought you weren't paying attention. You caught the way their loyalty started sounding. Rehearsed, and instead of panicking, instead of asking for answers you already sensed, you did the smartest thing a person with real intuition can ever do. You stepped back. You pulled your energy inward. You stopped giving them access to the mind they couldn't match, the heart they didn't deserve, and the presence they never understood. Because you knew something they didn't know about you. You don't chase truth from people committed to hiding it. You let their actions speak. You let time speak. You let destiny speak. And destiny speaks louder than any betrayal ever could. You didn't expose them. You didn't confront them. You didn't start a conflict. You simply watched. You simply listened. You simply waited. Because people who move in shadows always reveal themselves sooner or later. And that's exactly what happened. While they were busy testing limits, destiny was observing everything. While they were busy testing your patience, destiny was evaluating their character. While they were convincing themselves you were unaware, destiny was taking notes. Every shift, every intention, every quiet signal. That's why you weren't surprised when everything unraveled for them. You weren't shocked when truth surfaced. You weren't shaken when reality corrected itself. Because betrayal never breaks an intuitive person. It confirms what they already knew. You felt their energy slipping long before their loyalty did. You felt their excuses forming long before their stories cracked. You felt their mask loosening long before it finally revealed the truth. But you didn't hold on to what was fading. You didn't beg to preserve something already weakening. You didn't try to piece together a connection that destiny was guiding away. You let it go the way a storm releases rain, naturally, effortlessly. That's why your response was silent, strategic, refined. Because you didn't need to strike back. You didn't need to make a scene. You didn't need to expose anyone. You simply removed your energy, and their world started weakening, without you lifting a finger. That's how powerful your presence is, and that's how fragile their intentions were. People forget this truth. The moment you betray someone genuine, destiny steps in with a lesson far sharper than anything that person could deliver. And destiny delivered. Quietly, perfectly, exactly on time. Because when you stepped back, the universe stepped forward. You know what really affected them, right? It wasn't the distance. It wasn't the silence. It wasn't even the fact that you stepped back. What shook them internally was the moment they realized you already knew. You knew before the story unfolded. You knew before the mask shifted. You knew before their intentions surfaced. That's the blessing of intuition. You feel the truth long before it reveals itself. And when you step back, they thought you were being emotional, dramatic, distant. They couldn't see that you were being strategic. Because stepping back isn't weakness, it's preparation. It's observation. It's protection. And you protected yourself from a situation they were still busy creating. You let the universe show you what your heart tried to ignore. That's why you didn't chase closure. You didn't ask for explanations. You didn't beg anyone to stay. You learned that people who want to betray you always exit on their own. They reveal themselves without your help. They create their own consequences. And destiny simply mirrors them back. You just watch the process unfold. And while they were celebrating your absence, thinking they won, thinking they replaced you, thinking they fooled you, destiny was already setting up the reality they earned. Because betrayal doesn't go upward, it circles back. Everything they directed at you returned to them. Everything they whispered behind your back reflected on their own name. Every move they made against you was marked by forces beyond their understanding. And now they're noticing something unsettling. You didn't lose anything. You didn't break. You didn't crumble. You got quieter, stronger, clearer, wiser. You outgrew them faster than they could understand. While they chased noise, you chased clarity. While they played little games, you aligned with timing. While they built alliances on distortion, you built strength in solitude. That's what unsettles them now, because they expected a version of you that would collapse. But you chose a version that would rise. Your silence became their mirror. Your calm became their reality check. Your distance became their exposure. And now they're replaying every moment they thought they fooled you. They're realizing you weren't oblivious, you were observing. You weren't unaware, you were awake. You weren't controlled, you were calculated. And that's why destiny handled the rest. Because the universe doesn't correct betrayal with chaos. It corrects betrayal with truth. It corrects betrayal with reflection. And the reflection they face now goes deeper than anything you could have said. That's the beauty of stepping back. You didn't need to dismantle them. You just needed to remove yourself. The universe handled the rest with precision. The moment you stepped back, everything around them began shifting. Patterns they relied on changed. People they trusted began revealing themselves. The very energy they tried to manipulate redirected itself. And deep inside, they knew exactly when the shift began. The second you withdrew your presence, because you weren't just another person in their life, you were the stabilizer they never acknowledged. The calm they misread as routine. The blessing they took for granted. When someone like you steps back, life doesn't stay neutral for them. It adjusts. It reveals. It balances. That's why their world felt unsteady. Because you were the grounding energy they didn't recognize. You were the balance they didn't realize they stood on. You were the quiet protection that buffered them from their own consequences. And when you stepped away, destiny didn't just handle the rest. It reset everything around them. They didn't lose you. They lost the version of life they had when you were in it. They lost the peace your presence created. They lost the quiet luck that followed you. They lost the subtle protection your spirit brought. And now they feel it deeply. They feel the silence you left behind. They feel the empty space in conversations that once fed off your energy. They feel the discomfort of knowing the one person who truly understood them is no longer available. They feel the weight of their own decisions, the ones they thought would never return. That's why they're restless. That's why they're uneasy. That's why they're watching you from a distance, hoping you haven't fully realized what they tried to hide, but you sensed it long before they slipped. You felt the shift before they made a single move. You heard the truth inside their tone before they spoke it. And instead of exposing them, you let them expose themselves. Instead of chasing clarity, you let their actions reveal their intentions. Instead of holding on to a bond destiny was ending, you respected the message. That's what makes you powerful. You don't fight people. You don't argue with intentions. You don't negotiate with disrespect. You simply detach. You let time highlight what deception tries to cover. And time did exactly that. Now they're living inside the consequences of their own choices. And you're living inside the peace of your own intuition. You're calmer, sharper, aligned. Because betrayal didn't break you, it freed you. It freed you from illusions. It freed you from people who could never match the depth of your loyalty. And destiny rewarded you for trusting your instincts, for listening when your spirit whispered, "Step back." They thought they were influencing you. They didn't realize destiny was watching them expose their own intentions. And now your rise looks surreal to them. Your peace looks suspicious. Your silence looks powerful. Your comeback looks perfectly timed, because it is. That's what happens when intuition guides you out of places you've outgrown. You don't just move forward, you transcend. Destiny has a quiet way of revealing what you sensed before any proof appeared. And now that everything has unfolded, you can finally see how perfectly every shift aligned, because stepping back didn't just protect you, it revealed everyone else. It revealed who stood with you only when you were useful. It revealed who smiled at you while envying your spirit. It revealed who pretended to support you but hoped you'd falter. That's what betrayal always forgets. Intuitive people notice energy long before behavior. You noticed when their support became shorter, colder, distant. You noticed their absence in moments where real connection would have stayed. You noticed they checked in only to gather information, not to truly connect. And while they thought their silence was subtle, your intuition understood everything. You didn't need evidence. You didn't need explanation. You didn't need confession. You just needed quiet. Because truth becomes loud in silence. And when you stepped back, the universe didn't just confirm your intuition, it amplified it. Suddenly, their mask shifted. Without you doing a thing, their loyalty cracked in ways everyone could see. Their behavior no longer aligned with their words. Their stories no longer matched their actions. Their energy no longer aligned with your direction. And that's when destiny stepped in. Because destiny doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait for timing that pleases others. When something no longer aligns with your growth, destiny removes it. Gently if possible, sharply if necessary. And the more you elevated, the more uncomfortable they became. Not because you changed, but because your growth highlighted their stagnancy. Your calm revealed their chaos. Your authenticity revealed their illusions. Your strength made their intentions visible. That's why they tried shifting the blame onto you. That's why they acted like you changed too much. Why they portrayed themselves as the ones hurt. But when destiny corrects betrayal, it corrects the narrative too. And now everyone sees the truth. Everyone sees who carried sincerity. Everyone sees who stayed consistent. Everyone sees who held genuine value. You didn't lose a treasure. You lost a limitation. You lost someone who would have caused deeper wounds later. Destiny removed them to protect you, and the universe rewarded you with something priceless. The chance to rebuild yourself without their distortion. That's why your glow feels different. Your peace feels stronger. That's why your silence is respected now. Because you rose from something most people never notice until it's too late. You sense the storm forming, and instead of walking into it to save someone who created it, you step back. You let destiny sweep the entire situation clean. That's not just intuition, that's evolution. What they don't understand is that stepping back wasn't reaction, it was recognition. You didn't retreat because you were hurt. You stepped back because you understood something powerful. You don't argue with misalignment. You don't negotiate with deception. You don't chase people committed to misunderstanding you. You let them navigate the consequences they set into motion. And now those consequences are louder than anything you could have said. They feel the absence of your presence, your patience, your intuition, your support. They feel the loss of someone who genuinely cared, someone who truly listened, someone who actually wanted them to elevate. But they didn't respect that. They mistook your loyalty for weakness, your forgiveness for naivety, your consistency for predictability. They assumed someone with a heart like yours would always stay, no matter how many times they strained the connection. They forgot a truth. Even the softest energy becomes firm when pushed too far. And when your heart strengthened, it didn't turn cold, it turned wise. It learned the difference between attachment and alignment. It learned to stop offering chances to people who never valued them. It learned to stop assisting people who drained your spirit while pretending they needed saving. And once that wisdom settled inside you, stepping back felt peaceful. You felt lighter, clearer, stronger, free. Because sometimes destiny doesn't remove people to hurt you, but to heal you. And they were a wound you kept pretending wasn't there. They were a weight holding back your potential. They were a distraction from your evolution. That's why everything improved the moment you let go. Your focus sharpened. Your energy returned. Your vision expanded. Your intuition intensified. You didn't just step back, you stepped upward. You began protecting your peace like it was sacred, trusting your intuition like it was guidance, choosing yourself without guilt, fear, or hesitation. And that shift unsettled them, because they expected you to fall apart without them. They expected doubt to pull you backward. They expected confusion to make you return. But instead, you strengthened. You healed. You elevated. And now they are the ones questioning everything, wondering why their path feels heavier, why their plans keep stalling, why their progress feels blocked, wondering why your absence feels like a correction. It isn't punishment, it's balance. It's the universe restoring order. When someone genuine steps away, environments built on imbalance shift. Not because you wished for any downfall, but because your presence was the only stability within their chaos. That's why destiny acted the moment you stepped away. Because when someone with your heart leaves, the universe aligns with them, not with those who overlooked them. And now they're learning a truth they never expected, that losing someone real comes with a silent cost. Silence, reflection, realization, and lessons that return steadily. Here's what surprised them most. The moment you stepped back, you didn't walk into emptiness. You walked into clarity. You didn't lose connection. You lost distortion. You didn't lose support. You lost confusion. Because when destiny removes the wrong ones, it clears the path ahead. It clears the noise. It clears the shadows, pretending to care. People like them never realize the value of your energy until it's gone. They underestimate the steadiness your presence brought. They underestimate the protection your spirit provided. They underestimate the peace that followed you naturally. And once it's gone, the imbalance becomes impossible to ignore. They underestimated your intuition too, until it became the reason you sidestepped the trap they thought you'd fall into. And now, they replay everything. Moments where honesty would have changed everything. Moments where truth would have saved the connection. Moments where ego stepped in and clarity stepped out. And every replay feels heavier because now they know the full truth. You saw everything, not through their words, but through their energy. They forgot that someone intuitive doesn't need proof. You feel the shift before it becomes visible. You sense the intention before it becomes action. You recognize the disconnect before it becomes a moment. And that's why stepping back was powerful, because you didn't need evidence. You trusted your internal signal. You honored your spirit's warning, and the universe supported you for listening. Instead of chasing explanation, you allowed truth to reveal itself in perfect timing. Instead of holding a connection that destiny was dissolving, you released it. Instead of questioning your worth, you strengthened it. And that's why your energy looks different now. You carry a calm that can't be shaken, a confidence that doesn't require noise, a wisdom that doesn't need to explain itself, a strength refined by clarity. And that shift is the part they never predicted. They expected emotional reaction. They expected old patterns to return. They expected you to fight for something already fading. But instead, you walked away with grace, with composure, with a quiet power that spoke louder than any confrontation. That's what destiny needed from you, because destiny can't move until you do. Destiny can't clear your path while you remain connected to what limits you. It can't elevate you while you carry ties that drain your growth. It can't bless you while you stay surrounded by misaligned energy. So destiny waited for clarity, waited for you to choose yourself, waited for your spirit to say, enough. And the moment you stepped back, the door opened. Peace returned, alignment returned, opportunities returned. Your intuition sharpened, your mind cleared, your soul felt lighter. That's the universe confirming your choice was correct. That stepping back wasn't retreat, it was transition. And now the same people who misread you can only watch your rise from a distance. They can't enter this chapter, they can't access this version of you. They can't understand how destiny protects people who walk with intention. They only understand one truth now. Losing you shifted their entire path. And this chapter you're walking into now, it's not payback, it's purpose. It's not revenge, it's revelation. It's not closure, it's elevation. This is the moment destiny steps forward and says, you handled the shift with grace. Now watch me handle the blessing. Hello, my dear masterminds. Tell me, did you feel that sudden shift in the air? That sharp draft that didn't come from the window? Every narcissist in a 100-mile radius just froze mid-performance. The mask slipped, the smile cracked. Their body told the truth before their mouth could twist another lie. They felt it. The cold reminder that their games no longer work on you. You didn't swing a force. You didn't shout revenge. You simply existed with a frequency they can't metabolize. And in that moment, the predators knew they were prey. Every manipulator, every gaslighter, every wolf in cheap perfume. They all looked over their shoulders at once, and they couldn't explain why. But deep down, they know their empire of mirrors is cracking, and you are the reason the glass is breaking. Look closer. Can you hear it? That silence after a punchline fails. That awkward pause when a predator realizes the audience isn't laughing. That's the sound echoing in narcissists' minds right now. Their tricks, the gaslight, the smear, the sudden rage, it all feels hollow. They feel exposed, like someone turned on a cold spotlight above their stage. Their hearts race, not with power, but with panic, because you've become the one thing they cannot script around: unpredictability. You don't react on cue. You don't feed their theater. You sit still, you breathe slow, and the temperature drops. And when narcissists feel cold, they know warmth is gone. Their supply evaporated, their echo chamber fractured. You didn't confront them. You just became the winter that makes their masks brittle enough to break. Do you know what a narcissist fears most? Not exposure, not confrontation. They fear silence, because silence is a mirror that doesn't lie. And tonight, that mirror has fogged over with frost. Every narcissist within reach suddenly felt their lines vanish, their charm glitch, their rehearsed manipulation scripts turn to static. They try to smile, but their lips tremble. They try to talk, but their throat tightens. Why? Because for the first time they sense something colder than their cruelty. You walked into the room without a word, and the temperature dropped 10 degrees. You didn't accuse them. You didn't call them out. You simply stood there, and their empire of fake warmth froze mid-sentence. The predators felt it, the chill of irrelevance, the end of their game. Do you notice how quiet it gets when predators sense danger? The silence isn't peace, it's panic. Right now, every narcissist within range is scanning the air like prey animals who just felt the shadow of a hawk above them. Their scripts don't work. Their charm feels brittle. Their manipulations echo back like broken glass. They don't know what changed, but instinct whispers the truth. You did. You're no longer feeding them your attention, your reactions, your belief in their false power. That withdrawal feels like starvation to them. Their entire empire was built on your supply, and now it's collapsing under frost. The more they try to flex, the colder it gets. They see you smile faintly, untouched, and their skin crawls. Because in your calm presence, they finally understand the hunter has become the haunted. Imagine this. A narcissist rehearses their lines all night, sharpening insults, polishing charm, practicing that smirk. They walk in ready to perform, but then they see you, and everything inside them cracks. Their breath shortens, their voice falters. They can't remember the script. Why? Because your silence feels like an interrogation lamp. Your presence like a cold wind exposing every lie. They can't cover it, can't mask it, because the chill isn't coming from you attacking them. It's coming from you not needing them. That's their nightmare. Their entire power relies on being the center of gravity. But your gravity shifted. You orbit no one. And when that truth hits, their facade shatters like glass dropped on ice. They freeze, mid-smile, because for the first time, they realize the game is over, and you weren't even playing. Narcissists are predators of reaction. They feed on your flinch, your explanation, your defense. But tonight, they felt a chill because you gave them nothing. You stopped supplying the theater. You stopped dancing to their music. And when the music stops, the masquerade collapses. They tremble, not because you shouted, but because you stayed silent. Silence is their apocalypse. They stare into your calm eyes and feel the walls of their empire closing in. Their greatest fear isn't exposure, it's irrelevance. And that's what you've become, the walking void where their tricks dissolve. Every narcissist within miles knows it now. They can sense it like frost on their skin. Their games have no grip, no teeth, no stage. And you've become the winter they can't survive. Do you feel it? That subtle tightening in the air, that eerie stillness. Every narcissist within 100 miles feels it crawling under their skin right now. Their frame trembles with the weight of silence. Their breath shortens like the room itself forgot to breathe. They pretend it's nothing, just a draft, just the weather. But inside, panic grips their chest. Because they know the truth. You've stepped out of their script. You're no longer the supply they can siphon from, no longer the mirror that reflects their delusions. And when the mirror refuses to play, their entire image fractures. The chill is a prophecy. Their kingdom of lies is collapsing, one frozen crack at a time. And they can't stop it, because the frost isn't outside them, it's already seeping through their veins. Narcissists thrive on control. Every word they speak is a hook, every gesture a trap, every silence a test. But what happens when control itself slips through their hands? Right now, every manipulator within reach feels that terror. Their scripts are failing, their grip loosening, their tricks dissolving like snow in fire. They feel the chill because they realize you're no longer in their orbit. You've stepped into your own gravity. You don't flinch, don't fold, don't feed their hunger. And without fuel, their empire shakes. Their carefully constructed webs snap strand by strand. They know why the air feels heavy, why their chest feels tight, because you've become the one presence they can't bend. And when narcissists can't control, they collapse. Picture their kingdom, built on mirrors. Every reflection carefully angled, every illusion polished, every lie rehearsed. Now picture frost spreading across that glass, hairline cracks whispering through every surface. That's what just happened inside every narcissist within reach. They felt it, the fracture. Their kingdom was never stone, it was glass, and your presence has turned the room into an ice chamber. One breath from you, and the reflections distort. One glance from you, and the masks slip. They sense it. Their empire is fragile, breakable, temporary, and you don't even need to shatter it with force. You just let the frost spread. The cold truth is enough, because when glass kingdoms crack, they don't bend, they don't repair, they collapse. And every narcissist knows they're standing in ruins already. Listen closely. You don't even need to confront them. The air itself is doing the work. Every narcissist within 100 miles just felt the shift, and it betrayed them. Their voice cracked. Their confidence slipped. Their eyes darted with paranoia. They felt a chill, because your presence rewrote the atmosphere. The room no longer bends to their performance. It bends to your silence. That silence makes their laughter hollow, their words brittle, their masks unbearable. They feel the frost rising like fog, wrapping around their tricks, exposing the emptiness beneath. For the first time, they see themselves clearly, and they shiver. Not from the cold outside, but from the truth closing in inside. Narcissists love the sound of their own words. They speak to dominate, to drown out, to hypnotize. But tonight, their words sound different. Hollow, brittle. Every sentence echoes back at them like a draft through an empty hallway. Why? Because your silence stripped away the illusion of audience. Without your energy feeding their lines, their performance collapses. They feel that chill, not from outside, but from inside, where doubt has finally crept in. Their grand speeches taste like ashes in their own mouths, and in that moment of cold echo, they realize something terrifying. They are no longer the storm. You are. The frost doesn't just silence them. It forces them to hear themselves for the very first time, and the sound is unbearable. Narcissists crave the spotlight. They bask in attention like reptiles in the sun, soaking energy to keep their illusions alive. But tonight, the spotlight turned cold. What once fed them now freezes them. They feel exposed under a glare that doesn't warm, only strips away masks. Every smile feels forced. Every joke falls flat. Every charm fractures under frost. They sense it. The audience is no longer enchanted. They're watching with suspicion. And at the center of this stage, you stand unmoved, unbothered, untouchable. The light bends around you, cold and sharp, and they can't hide from it. They know the show is ending because the spotlight that once crowned them has turned into a frozen judgment they cannot escape. Have you noticed how predators move when they sense danger greater than themselves? They freeze, muscles stiff, eyes darting, breath caught in their throat. That's exactly what's happening to every narcissist within reach right now. Their power was never real. It was theater. Scripts, masks, rehearsals. But when the cold truth settles into their core, the performance collapses. They feel it. The stage is gone. The audience is gone. The applause has died. They're left standing in silence, exposed under the frost of your presence. No rage can thaw it. No lie can bend it. No charm can melt it. And deep down, they finally admit the truth. The chill is not coming for you. It's consuming them. Confidence was their costume. Loud laughter, sharp words, flawless masks, all crafted to convince the world they were untouchable. But when the chill swept in, that costume ripped. Every narcissist within 100 miles felt it, their confidence cracking like ice under a heavy step. They tried to laugh it off, but the sound betrayed them. They tried to smirk, but the twitch gave them away. Because confidence built on lies can't withstand silence. And you gave them silence colder than any winter storm. Now their polished armor feels like thin glass, ready to splinter. They sense it. Their empire was never built on strength, only performance. And the show just ended. Narcissists are addicted to reactions. They study your face like a gambler studies cards, searching for tells, waiting for the flinch, the spark, the weakness. But when they looked at you this time, they didn't find fire. They found ice. A void? Eyes that no longer dance to their tune, a stare that reflects nothing back. And that emptiness is unbearable for them, because without your reaction, their entire game collapses. No applause, no audience, no mirror, just silence staring back. That's why they shiver. Not because you attacked, but because you stopped existing in their theater. The void in your eyes is the coldest thing they've ever faced, and it tells them the truth. They were never powerful. You were simply letting them believe it. Narcissists thrive when the room feels small enough for their voice to dominate. But tonight, something strange happened. The room didn't shrink around them, it shrank on them. The walls pressed in, the air grew heavy, and suddenly every escape hatch they once used, charm, anger, distraction, sealed itself shut. They felt it in their chest, a chill that whispered, "This stage is no longer yours," and it wasn't, because you expanded beyond their tricks. Your silence filled the space like winter fog, leaving them cornered in their own performance. The more they spoke, the colder it grew. The more they tried to stretch their mask, the tighter it froze against their skin. They know now, the room doesn't belong to them anymore. It bends to you. Have you ever watched someone try to breathe in winter air so sharp it stings the chest? That's every narcissist within miles right now. They feel it, the torch of cold silence pressing against their chest. They open their mouths to speak, but nothing lands. Their words evaporate. Their charm freezes mid-air. Their anger fades before it leaves their throat. Because you shifted the atmosphere itself, you no longer breathe their chaos. You exhale clarity, and it suffocates their illusions. They thought they could drain your oxygen, steal your energy, feed on your reaction. But now it's their own breath locking up, their own performance, gasping for air. And deep down, they realize this isn't a chill that passes. This is the new climate, and they will never adapt. Narcissists survive by hijacking mirrors. They force reflections, twist perceptions, demand the world show them what they want to see. But tonight, every mirror turned cold. They leaned in, expecting admiration, and instead saw fractures. They practiced their smirk, but the reflection trembled. They rehearsed their dominance, but the glass fogged over, refusing to validate. That's the frost they felt, not in the air but in their own reflection, because you stepped out of their mirror maze. You no longer reflect their illusions. You became the crack that spreads across every surface, the silence that bends every image. And when narcissists face a mirror that won't play along, they see themselves raw, fragile, empty, desperate. That sight alone is colder than any winter storm. Narcissists run from silence, because silence shows them what they truly are. But tonight, the silence didn't just surround them, it froze them in place. They felt their own shadows stretch across the floor, heavy, unbearable, impossible to outrun. They know the chill isn't from outside weather, it's from the inside truth. Their tricks, their masks, their borrowed confidence, all useless when the shadow they created now overwhelms them. They once believed they owned every stage, every conversation, every game, but now they realize the game isn't theirs to run. The frost has stripped away the illusion, leaving them face to face with themselves. And that is the coldest punishment of all. Not you breaking them, but them breaking under the weight of their own shadow. Watch closely. You don't need words to see it. The collapse is written in their eyes. That flicker, that dart, that trembling glance. Narcissists who once stared through you now can't hold your gaze for more than a second. They feel it, the chill behind your silence. Their eyes betray what their mouths cannot admit. They've lost control. Their kingdom of attention has no subjects left. Their empire of manipulation has no believers, and so they shrink. The louder they laugh, the colder it sounds. The harsher they speak, the more brittle it rings. Every attempt at control only accelerates the frost wrapping around them. They're trapped, not by your attack, but by your refusal to play. And in that frozen realization, their eyes confess the truth. They've already lost. Narcissists once roared like lions, convinced their voice could command rooms, bend people, rewrite truth. But tonight, their roar cracked. Every word rattled, every syllable thin, every sound exposing fragility instead of power. They felt it. The chill that strips away costumes and amplifies the cracks in their facade. What once sounded like dominance now echoes like glass under strain. They know others hear it too. The audience that once feared them now tilts their heads, seeing weakness instead of strength, desperation instead of control. And nothing terrifies a narcissist more than being revealed as fragile. They feel the cold in their throat, in their chest, in their mask. And deep down, they know the truth. Their voice no longer commands. It only betrays. Narcissists thrive in noise, chaos, gossip, arguments, distractions. Noise is their shield, their cover, their camouflage. But tonight, the noise died. The silence grew heavy, unrelenting, and they can't outrun it. They try to fill the air with jokes, with anger, with half-truths. But each word freezes mid-breath, because the silence doesn't need to fight. It already won. Their tricks dissolve in it. Their masks suffocate in it. Their performances collapse against it. And you don't even have to speak. You are the silence, the cold, unmovable stillness that leaves them trembling, grasping, panicking. They feel it in their bones. This silence will not end for them, because it's not the world that changed. It's you. And you no longer play their game. And now the chill has settled. Every narcissist in 100 miles stands frozen, not by your hand, not by your words, but by your absence from their script. They feel it in their bones. Their power has dissolved. Their stage has collapsed. Their mirrors shattered. And you didn't need to fight. You didn't need to scream. You simply stood still, and winter arrived. That's why they whisper now, in corners, in silence, afraid to say your name too loud. They know the truth, that predators who feed on illusions cannot survive in the presence of someone who no longer plays. You've become their coldest nightmare, their clearest reflection, their proof that the frost always wins. From now on, when they feel that chill crawl down their spine, they will remember you, and they will know why.